show you the 2004 Bergs 650. Now this old girl's an awesome bike, probably the most fastest, most powerful dirt bike we've got. She's also got some bling to make it look the part. Not the easiest bike to start, but an awesome bike to ride.
Husaberg 650. This particular bike is a 2004 Berg 650, which I affectionately call Black Betty. It has 80 hours on it with 3,800 kilometres. It's still like new. These 650s sold reasonably well for a dirt bike. When Aussie threw a leg over them, they were blown away by just how good it handles, and that motor is just next level. While it weighs the same as a 450 and revs like one too, that big piston is nothing to sneeze at. To compare, we really need to understand the Berg motor and how it was designed. This era of Husaberg motors employed a vertically split case design. The piston runs within a steel sleeve, which in turn is mated to the cases. It has minimal oil holding capacity at 1 litre. It's essentially a bare bones 2-stroke bottom end with a balancer and e-start squeezed in. Make no mistake, these motors were radical and small, powerful and light. They formed the precursor to all modern KTM RFS motors that were to come. The motor was then mated to a lightweight steel frame with welded subframe, all in one piece. The airbox was integrated into the top tube of the frame, which creates the amazing induction roar on the Bergs when you're riding them. As there is no traditional airbox like most dirt bikes, there's this massive hole in the frame which creates the trademark Berg look and contributes to the light weight. Now the motor came in 3 configurations, a 450, 550 and 650. All were, for intents and purposes, the same bike. They had the same bore, but they all had different strokes. The 100mm piston was the short skirt variety and was used in all 3 models. The strokes were 57, 70 and 82mm for the 650. What is amazing is that each of these models, while they're the same in everything bar the stroke, rode completely differently. In no other bikes was this more pronounced than in the Bergs. The impact of a piston stroke can really be felt. The 450 and 550 turn and handle in single track brilliantly. The 650 was noticeably less inclined to tip in. These bikes wanted to go fast, stand up and wheelie. No question the smaller capacities are better suited to tight going than the big girl. The handling on all these era Bergs is sensational. Coupled with a long wheelbase with sensational geometry and frame, they slide fantastic. Go where you point them and really make riding quite effortless. That is, until you twist the throttle hard and you realise quickly what a beast you're on. The 650s can be a very civilised bike with gentle throttle use. L-platers could easily ride them to school and around town with little issue. But pull that cable round past mid-throttle and the world starts to light up. The front wheel comes up and put the hammer down like no other dirt bike ever made. 4-stroke force was the Berg slogan, and it symbolised perfectly in the 650. The power right from idle is smooth and linear, no pops or farts. It builds to a strong mid-range and then just keeps revving. Wheel spin generally ensues. Just when you think it's signed off and surely has no more, it keeps revving. Turn the throttle to the top to the stops and it just sings. That perfect Berg induction howl and the boom from the full titanium acro exhaust, all working in harmony as it finds its optimum threshold. And behold the 4-stroke power band. It revs harder than any 650 should, and for those brave enough to find it and hold it in the high gears, it really does haul. What you have to appreciate with these bikes is that they are lighter than anything else that came before it. Well, you could say there are similar capacity dirt bikes made, like the old CCMs, KTM LC4s, the Honda 650. They're all porky pies compared to the Berg. Dirt bikes are all about power to weight. You can add more horsepower to a dirt bike to make it go faster, or you can take the weight off to achieve the same result. As a good comparison, Throw a pillion on the back of a dirt bike and watch how much difference that makes to the power delivery. One of my favourite stories is the Mackay Grass Tree Beach Races. This is a race open to all comers. Big bore two-strokes with dual carbs, turbo 450s, Banshee triple two-strokes, big adventure bikes, and even road bikes that have been shoehorned in with knobbies on to compete. The race is a simple flat track circuit, 750 metres from point to point, held on a large, flat beach. 4 laps around and you get the King of the Beach title each year. Now, out of such a diverse field of bikes, you would assume that the biggest, most powerful bike would win every time, right? Wrong. Enter the legendary Husaberg 650, punted around the circuit by the very talented Damien Cobby. His methanol-fueled big bore has stood the test of time and is still taking checkered flags in front of all takers. For 3 years, the mighty Berg has smashed all the road bikes, turbos and two-strokes for the win. No, it's not the fastest in a straight line. It taps out around 183 kilometres an hour, while the road bikes are pushing 210. But enter the first corner and it has to be seen to be believed. The Berg simply puts it sideways and drifts into a huge 200-metre arc and pulls away from everything on acceleration. It's all about power to weight. Which brings me back to the 650 nicely. These bikes are light and powerful. They handle brilliantly and are generating a cult following. The good news is that there is not many dirt bikes that can keep up with this one. The bad news is that the early model Bergs from 2002 to 3, in particular, were not renowned for their reliability. Poor manufacturing quality from KTM at the time meant they were plagued with engine failures for poor maintenance bearings to valve springs letting go. Dual springs from later model KTMs became the fix, and checking that all-important crank end float to ensure these motors lasted for more than a few hours around the track. The 650s came in 2 flavours. Early models from 2002 to 2004 had the long stroke, which was 82mm. The later 2005 to 2008 models had the short stroke, which was 80mm. It was said the later models were more reliable. However, in my opinion, the long stroke motor from 2004 was the best. Definitely has better power. Now, in terms of power, it's often said you don't need much in power in the dirt. Stefan Merriman once insisted that all his bikes were capped at 36 horsepower. Any more and you're just creating wheel spin versus momentum. Yes, this is true. You don't need a big 650 in the bush, but damn, it's fun. The reality is most Berg 650s, especially in Europe, were sold as super motards. That is, road bike tyres and a sweet 6-spot Behringer brake up front. Very popular on the racing circuit and decimates the road bikes on a tight track. In Australia though, they were sold mostly with knobbies on board. Husaberg disappeared when KTM acquired Husqvarna, another brand buried to the Austrian giant. Fortunately, there was one more model that cemented Husaberg into innovation legend before its demise, the 70-degree or bent Berg models. We will review my 570 in an upcoming video. So with the loss of Husaberg, so too went the spare parts. Inventory for Berg-related parts is drying up rapidly as KTM no longer stock old parts. Anything pre-2000 and KTM don't want to talk to you. Plastics, Berg-specific items are now getting very hard, if not impossible, to source new. Out of all the bikes produced, these 650s hold a very dear part in my heart. They ooze character. They bash you around the head with brutality and speed, leaving you speechless and shaking after coming in too hot to the next corner. The way it accelerates needs to be compared to another bike to appreciate. They get the whole shot easily. It puts the power down so smoothly compared to the big bore two-strokes, it's like a rocket off the start line and scary in the tight stuff. It makes you feel alive for sure, and it's one that is very much worthy of anyone's bucket list. Ride one to believe it. They rock.
Damn, I love this bike. She's a beauty.
650.
There's never much fun on the button. Incredible to ride. Yeah, baby. This thing's a hoot. Too hot to be riding today.